Aloha, and thank you, Patty. The meeting of the Hawaiian Homes Commission is called to order. The meeting is being held via teleconference moderated by me, Chair William Ilo Jr. from the DHHL office, Halepono'i, 915420 Kapolei Parkway, Kapolei, Oahu, Hawaii. And today's date is Tuesday, March the 16th. The time is now 9:36 a.m. Pursuant to the Governor's 18th proclamation related to the COVID emergency, Hawaii Revised Statutes Chapter 92 regarding public agency meetings and records is currently suspended through April 15th, 2021, to the extent necessary to enable boards to conduct business without holding meetings open to the public and to allow state agencies the ability to effectively and efficiently provide emergency relief and engage in emergency management functions. At this time, we are able to live stream the open portions of this meeting via the DHHL website. Leah, will you please conduct the roll?
Commissioner Awu will be lead. Commissioner Helm?
Here.
Commissioner Ka'apu will be lead. Commissioner Kalekini?
Aye.
Commissioner Ka'upu?
Here.
Commissioner Namu'o is excused. Commissioner Neves?
Aye.
Commissioner Teruya?
Aye.
Chair Ila?
Aye.
We have 6 members present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Leah. There was one public testimony submitted this morning or last night.
Last night. Everybody.
Okay, and you all have it, so you all can read it. We have Craig Iha as our counsel this morning. Pauline will be excused, and Randy and David will join us a little bit later on. Okay, so let's go straight to the agenda. We have agenda item F1. Kahana?
Aloha and good morning, Commissioners. Kahana Albino, Acting Administrator, Land Management Division. Item number F1. And I also have here Land Agent Mark Kim by my side. F1, L&D is seeking the approval to extension of general lease or lease term to general lease number 102, which is held by Big Island Energy Company, LLC. We also have some representatives from Big Island Energy, Oliveira. Without further ado, the recommended motion is that the Hawaiian Homes Commission grant its consent to the following as spelled out in the submittal below.
Okay, so can I have a motion to consider staff recommendation?
So moved.
Second. Second, Dennis. Thank you. So the recommendation is to?
The recommendation basically is, as you can see, I have noted 7 different conditions under the submittal. This lease has been in place since 1966. It was granted a 55-year lease term. Pursuant to the Hawaii Revised Statutes, Section 17136, we are authorized, with your approval, to grant lessees 10-year extension, not to extend beyond 65 years. We can give you a little bit of history about Paul, are you online?
Yes. Yes, to unmute.
Paul, if you can unmute.
And I would just point out before Paul comes on that the tenant is in good standing.
Correct.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep. Paul, if you can give a little bit of
Can you
history
hear
of,
me?
yep. Paul, if you can give a little bit of history of who Big Island Energy is and what do you guys do? Yep.
Big Island Energy is a petroleum company that services the small business operations of local companies. That's really delayed.
So you provide fuel and petroleum products?
Of local companies. There's a significant delay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand.
Okay. Paul, the question is, for me, is, so you provide to small businesses petroleum products, including fuel. Just trying to give the commission an idea of what services you provide.
That is correct. That's what we do. We also. Yes, you're correct. That is correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Chairman, Mark Yim, Land Agent for Land Management Division. Just a little bit more background because of the delay. I'd like to try and intercede on behalf of Big Island Energy to provide some background. Big Island Energy is the only remaining
because of the delay. I'd like to try
petroleum company on the Big Island
Energy to provide some background. Big Island Energy is.
Sir, we're having a lot of background issues.
Okay,
Okay, providing petroleum services both for jet fuel to the Hilo and Kona area, as I understand it, having had many discussions with Mr. Oliveira. Also, they provide significant work to the Hilo industrial area workforce. The extension of this lease would certainly benefit the community as well as our Native Hawaiian beneficiaries as well.
okay, thank you. Paul, did you want to add anything else before I open it up to questions from the commission? He's off. Okay.
Just kind of listen to YouTube while he's talking. That's what he's doing. That's causing the feedback.
He's
Okay, should I
connecting
tell
by
him?
audio.
Should I tell him that? Okay, Paul, we have a request for you to not listen to YouTube.
Are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
I'm
Did you
sorry.
wanna-
Are you able to?
We can hear you. The question is, do you want to add any information to what has been presented so far before we open up for questions?
Okay, I'm gonna try and talk and see if this will get through. I'm sorry for the delay, but I just wanted to mention that when we first took over Big Island Energy from the Akana family, we started with about 7 employees. Today we have 39, and we make it an effort to ensure that we hire local talent, and we continue to focus on that. And our goal is to continue to enhance the ability for our our community to be represented well. We're the last local family-owned company in the petroleum organization. Everybody else is owned in the mainland. We are proud of that, and we want to continue to enhance the ability to hire talented local people. So my goal is to continue this path, and we want to continue to grow on the Big Island. And my family is all from that island. My great-grandparents started in the plantation, and we want to continue to be a supportive community organization that will continue to help build the talents of that company, and hopefully give people there the opportunity to grow with us.
All right, thank you, Paul. Commissioners, any questions for staff or Paul?
I
Patty?
do.
Yes, Chair.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Kahana, for the presentation. And thank you, Mr. Chairman, for clearing. I know you made a statement and the company is in very
Yeah,
good
I need
standing.
to hear. I cannot hear.
Hello? Can you hear?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I don't know. He said he couldn't hear. So the statement that you made that the company is in very good standing, that's good to know. hired local talent in the area. That's good to know. My communication is from the Panaheva Association, and they wanted me to communicate to you that the Big Island Energy is a good community partner. They have never been asked to provide a community benefit package, and they asked if they will be willing to directly work with the East Hawaii Homestead Association to negotiate a reasonable community benefit package. And if they said yes, then that would be really great to work with the Panaheva Hawaiian Homestead East Hawaii Association. So this is my communication for today on this presentation. And you can either take this, and I just wanted to make it for the record, if you're ever thinking of providing a good benefit package for the East Hawaii area.
Yeah, so, okay, I appreciate that you pass on that word from Panaheva. This
Thank
is
you.
merely a lease extension. I think when we issue a new long-term lease, that is a more appropriate time to
Well, This is
push
65
for.
This is 65 years that you're giving. That's a long.
No, we're
time.
gonna, the
No?
extension proposed is for 10 years.
Okay,
And so the additional revenue to the department would be based upon an appraisal. And there will be an increase based upon the appraisal on the rent. So I heard the request. At this point, I am not inclined, but there are other commission members, and this is a commission decision. So I'd like to hear from other commission members if they have questions.
I do, Chair.
thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. Thank you, Kahana, for your presentation and for the Hawaii Energy requesting another 10-year extension. I just have a question on number 4.
Yep.
You have included a 20% is it a
Premium.
one-time non-refundable 20%. How did you come up with that 20%? Is it through the appraisal?
Actually, it's just a premium fee that I feel we should charge because we're extending a lease beyond the normal 55-year term. Again, this is a first for LMD. Typically, we always went up to 55 years, but in looking at the HRS, there is an avenue, of course, if you guys approve it, for a lease term to go not beyond 65 years. So in doing so, I just attached a premium fee to the extension.
So is this a standard percentage for all, or is this just for
The
this?
first time.
Again, it's the first time. It's not a standard. It's something that I just tacked on. It's
Okay.
not free. I just want to, have an opportunity to, I guess, charge our tenant for this extra 10-year,
Okay,
extension.
thank you for your clarification. Thank you very much.
And commission can always change that 20%. I mean, I just threw that number out there.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Zachary. Other commission members? Russell?
Thank you,
And then-
Chair. Yeah, I just want to add, I'm familiar with this particular company and its predecessor. And my understanding is that they are good corporate citizens, good local company. I believe you asked for comment on Patty's comment. And I think Patty's comment was that was to ask the company to consider voluntarily working with the Panaheva folks. I don't think Patty was asking for us to assess or to make it a requirement of the extension. I think that's what I heard. And so I would support that, but I don't think it affects the decision that we make today on the extension. That's all I want to say on Patty's request.
Okay, thank you, Russell. Dennis and then Mike.
Yes, Connor, where's their facility based? Is it at the airport or is it on the docks, or where's it at?
Oh, their facility is based out in the town. It's near Target Safeway. If
Okay.
you've been up there recently, it's behind Target Safeway and Kukila Avenue.
It's an
Okay,
industrial.
so,
It's an industrial area.
okay, so they provide fuel to the airport for interplane fueling, or do they do interplane fueling?
Okay,
They
let's,
provide I think the petroleum.
why don't we ask Paul if Paul is still there? Paul? Let's find the petroleum. Why don't we ask Paul if Paul is still there?
Yes, we actually supply and haul fuel for PAR and IES.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question. And did I hear that this is only one of two companies on the island? Is that correct? Ghana?
I think one of two, or yeah, yes, one of two. Sorry about that. Yes.
One of two. And to Patty's comments, being in the industry in the airline industry for like 30 plus years, it's a difficult competition, and being a privately owned company, it's difficult competition. But I agree, if the company's willing to do that, but understanding the competition, it may be difficult. But I do support that if they want to do something with the community, but it would be outside of our lease agreement or what we decide on today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. I just one or two questions I wanted to ask Paul. Paul, when did you and your company take over? What year was it?
2009. 2009.
Oh, okay, 2009.
Commissioners, yeah, real quick, commissioners, if you guys look on page 2 under discussion, kind of gives you a little bit history of when the lease had, when the inception of the lease and where we're at right now.
Okay, under
It
discussion.
changed
Got it.
hands several times.
Right. Thank you, Kahana. Okay, about how much fuel does Big Island Energy, I guess, does dispense or sell annually? Paul?
Okay, Paul, that's for you. Just hold for the delay. Paul, that question is directed
Yeah,
at you.
We haul about 20 total, somewhere in the realm of 5 to 20 million gallons is what we haul. Not all of it is ours. So we are either helping with the hauling side for others or to ourselves, but our side is probably about 2 to 3 million.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, and so with regards to Commissioner Torio's comments about the maybe the willingness for community benefits, I agree. It doesn't have any effect on this decision making, but I would support if the company was willing to do that. Right now they started off with 7 employees, and today they have 39. I mean, that's a huge community benefit in itself, and for that, as a very positive what's going on in the community. I want to ask you, Kahana, and thanks for the presentation. So what is the background behind only 10 years for the extension?
Oh, the max.
And that's the max pursuant to section 17136. A general lease can only go for a 65-year term. So they've already had an aggregate of 55 years, and now we're just asking for an additional 10 years to make up the 65.
my audio is acting up. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
There you.
So the answer, Mike, can you hear me? Mike, if you can, just raise your hand. Okay, so the answer is that according to chapter 171, a 10-year extension on a 55-year lease is the maximum that's allowed.
it cannot extend beyond 65 years.
Got it. I understand. So can
You're getting cut out.
yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. How about now?
Yeah,
Yep, there you.
Okay, so what about the option of just doing another 55-year lease? Is that something that was kicked around?
unfortunately, we cannot directly negotiate with one party. We have to go through the whole process. So we'd have to rebid
Okay.
process again for everybody
All right,
to participate.
okay. All right, that's all I had. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, go ahead.
Commissioners, this is one of the challenges that we are experiencing, and this is why it's so important that we address this particular general lease 102 at this time. The general lessees, in general sense, have put into place on their particular properties that they lease from us all the improvements. This is the first one. As Kahana had mentioned, we are limited to that 65-year window as the HRS states in 171. In order for them to, and this is why Paul Oliveira and GL 102 is very concerned, because they have invested so much into their infrastructure on the property and stand to lose it all. So they are seeking guidance exactly to Commissioner Kalakini's question. That's why we need to address these. We have several general leases that are coming up within the next 2 to 8 years, and they're all in the same situation.
Yeah, so when these general leases were given out many years ago, and not just DHHL's leases, but all leases, all statewide leases, the thought process was, okay, for 65 years, and in some cases a little bit more, the businesses would be able to recover their investments. Some folks that come in a little bit later, calculate their opportunity. In this case, there is an opportunity to grant 10 more years. But the idea behind the total of 65 years is really to be able to allow landowners, i.e. the state of Hawaii, to be able to go back out for another 65-year period. So that is the sort of process that began 55 years ago in this particular case. I will tell you that there is legislation currently being discussed in the legislature that might allow for extensions up to 20 years. I think the wording in one bill says up to 40, but I don't think that is going to pass. I think up to 20, I think, is something that the Department of Land and Natural Resources is looking to for its leases, often right next door to our leases. So it's just something for you to be aware of.
And in addition to that, as Mark had mentioned, we have several leases that is coming up for expiration within the 2 to 8 year time frame. For us to consider something like this with Big Island Energy, we like to consider tenants that are in good standing, pay on time, satisfy the obligations under the lease. So that's one thing we kind of look at, and Big Island Energy was a good example of that. Some of the tenants that wants to come in, some may be back, some may not be current in rent, some may not be meeting the obligations of the lease. So, we may not consider those tenants.
Also, commissioners, as I don't know if you're aware or not, all the improvements on top of all of these general leases, once the term of the general lease expires, all of the improvements on top of the premises revert back to the state And so this is a big concern of the general lessees as well.
Are there any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Dennis.
On the 10-year extension, is this a flat rate for the 10 years? Or are there increases in there on an annual basis, or?
The way I
I'm not
wrote it
looking
out,
at the actual contract itself.
Yeah, so I think the way that it's written up in the submittal is that there will be a new appraisal. Upon that appraisal, there'll be a 20% premium charged for the extension. And are there any step ups?
there is one step up.
Okay, so Kahana's checking it out.
Yeah, the 20% is a one-time charge
Correct.
based on the new appraisal.
Correct.
What I want to know is are there any increases within that 10-year period, that extension?
Hold on, he's double checking.
Sure.
No, we don't have that in there.
Okay, there appears not to be any. Would the commission entertain or suggest something that's reasonable? And I'm looking both to you and to Mike or to Russell. Russell has, okay. Finish, Dennis, and then we'll go to Russell.
Yeah, I guess, try to figure out what those increases would be. It'd probably have to rely on the appraiser to determine reasonable increases, whether they be, after 3 years, 5 years, annually, or whatever, just so that, and I understand, the business put a lot of money into it. It's a family business. They obviously are paying their bills. They're not going anywhere. But to sort of establish a standard as we move forward and look at these lease extensions, this is a perfect example of what we want in the future. How do we use this example and then move forward reasonably, especially with a family-owned business, because that's where we want to be. Their contribution to the community is substantial. When you go from 5 or 7 employees to 39 employees, that's a lot of folks, and it may increase as we move forward if they can gain more support for their products, and they do a good sales job. And also I noticed they're doing some improvements. So, I don't want to make it difficult for them. I want to make sure that we can still move forward and still maintain income for the trust.
Right. I know it's not in there, just let me add, but typically when we assign or have a scope of service for appraisal, we usually tend to put, for this purpose, 10 years would be a 5-year step up. After the first 5 years, second 5 years, it steps up, kind of thing. So that's the plan we had.
That'd be good. So we was basically follow the appraisal's thought process.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. Good suggestion. Russell?
Yeah, Chair. So I agree with Dennis as far as the our standard lease over, especially a longer term, should have built-in step up, and I'm guessing that our lease did have that. But I note that with this extension, we are catching up with market because we are doing an appraisal. They are paying a fee, a premium for the extension, which is already an amount that the department is receiving for the extension. And then going forward, so I guess the question is, during this 10-year period, which is the end of their lease term, would we want to see a mid-extension term step up, another step up? When I look at the submittal, what's most important to me, because they're at the end of a long-term lease, is the condition of the facilities. And it's stated in here that the improvements appear to be in moderate condition. Deferred maintenance appears to be minimal. So that in and of itself is a credit to the tenant, because what will happen is as you get toward the end of your long-term lease, they lose incentive to maintain their facilities. And when you have petroleum in the ground, and in tanks, that becomes an issue for us because, as Mark mentioned, we take back the improvements at the end of the lease potentially. So, you know, I would argue that if their maintenance they've done maintenance for the existing term, we're already getting a step up and a premium for this 10-year extension. I would be okay with not having a further step up during the extension, so that they have the money to continue to maintain their facilities in hopes that they're buying goodwill when they come back to us after 10 years for the next 65-year extension or the new lease. Because we have the ability to consider when we go out for a new lease, if we have an existing tenant who's been a good corporate citizen, who's been a good community person, who's maintained their facilities, that all has to go into consideration. I think that would be that would put them a step ahead of most any other bidder, I would imagine. And then if they go the extra step of working with the community and voluntarily doing the community program, even better. So I guess in summary, I agree with Dennis's comments about step ups. I think those are more in the general lease. And I think in the lease extension, as it's been negotiated so far, I think we've covered a lot of that increase in value.
Good point. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair.
Go ahead, Zachary, then we go back to Dennis.
Yeah, I've listened to Dennis and Russell. I think Russell has a good point, because these people are in good standings and, they have a very good reputation in that community. So, the less burden for them, better for them and, and also the community. So I would agree, with that 10-year extension, I cannot see any more increases for this company. Thank you.
Let me just clarify, you mean no additional step-ups?
Yes, no additional step-ups.
Okay,
Right.
but increase in the appraisal, yes.
Yes. But
Okay,
thank you.
Dennis?
Yes, just a couple things. And something we might want to consider is instead of the 20% premium, there are step ups in the original contract. Is that correct?
Correct.
Original lease. So
Yes.
maybe we continue the step ups as we have in the original lease, reduce the 20% so that they're not getting hit right off the bat because they have some improvements to do to continue to run their business. We continue to get the step ups based on what we agreed to in the first 55 years. Then my only other issue, my concern is on any of these, especially when you're dealing with petroleum products and stuff like that, is in our contract, are we protected or for hazardous cleanup? Because if we take this facility back, and I've experienced this several times the years I worked for the airlines, is now you've got an underground issue like Kaileiloa, San Francisco Airport, TWA, spending millions and millions of dollars to clean up oil spill hazardous waste and so on and so forth. I like to make sure that we have that in the extension to make sure that we're protected if we do have to take this facility back, reduce the 20% and go back to our standard increases. So we just continue with the standard contract through the 10 years. That sort of makes it a little cleaner. The 20 dropping the 20% to 15% or something gives them it takes a little burden off them because they have some improvements they want to do and they continue their business.
But just
my suggestion.
clarification for the step up in rent. The step up that they currently had or they went through was based off an appraisal that was done 20 years ago.
Correct.
So we have to do a new appraisal now to get a fair market now.
Okay.
So we cannot go based off an appraisal that was taken 20 years
Oh,
ago.
no, I understand. What I'm saying is not to go back to the old appraisal. You have to do the new appraisal, but use the annual step up. So whatever step up process you had, percentages, whatever it was, throughout the 10-year period. That's all I'm asking. We might be talking step up versus annual increases or whatever you want to call it. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dennis. We're gonna go to
Okay.
Mike and then Russell.
Hey, thanks, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, my video is not working. After we get through this, I'll try to relaunch. But anyway, a quick question, Kahana. When do we anticipate the results of the appraisal?
I had it in here, at the latest by June 30th,
Okay,
if not before that.
okay, it's right around the corner. Yeah, in regards to step up or annual or some period of escalation, you know, I think it's great with the 20% step, the fee that we're doing. But I would also support if like there was an escalation after a 5-year period, you know, whether it's based on an appraiser or appraisal or some index like consumer price index, you know, I would support that. I think it's reasonable and fair for 5 years.
Okay, Russell.
Thanks, Chair. So I just going to share on the comments on the step up. So I think, Kahana, what Commissioner Nevis was suggesting was to go back and look at the old lease. Typically, so you're right, you have appraisal and you set the base rent by appraisal. During the term of a long-term lease, you will have periodic step-ups in rent. Sometimes it's in the nature of a rent reopening where you redo your whole appraisal, and then there's this whole process that you get into where you have arbitration if you don't agree. But I think what we're talking about is sometimes in the lease schedule, it'll say you have a base rent for a period, usually, I don't know, 10, 15, sometimes 20 years. And then you have some periodic, just a percentage step up in rent. Sometimes it's every 2 years, every 5 years. I'm not sure what the schedule was, if there was one in our lease, and it's possible. I don't have a lot of experience with the state leases, but maybe there was no interim step up. I'm not sure, but that's, I think, the nature of what Commissioner Nevis was suggesting. Rather than the upfront 20% fee premium, allow them to use that money to do maintenance, but have some of these midterm in this 10-year extension term step up, not a full reopening with appraisal, based upon what the original lease said. So I don't know what that is, but if I understand correctly, the thought is to kind of make it a neutral decision. Either they pay it all up front or they pay it during the 10-year extension term. I think that's what Commissioner Nevis was getting at. So there might be some math to figure out how that works, but anyway, that's what I think. You got to go back and look at the current lease and see what that schedule is, and see if we can match that up for the 10 years that we're extending.
Okay, so what I hear from the commission is some direction to staff, basically review the old lease, get a feel for the step ups, and then apply a percentage of the step up within the next 10-year extension, rather than the 20% premium. I want to throw that out to see if I'm hearing correctly.
So let me clarify. Russell got basically is thinking the same way I'm thinking. What I'm thinking is reduce the 20%. Say we just charge them at 10%. Okay, it's 10%. But
Okay.
what I'm trying to find out is in the 55-year lease, are there any, you call them step ups, I would call them a increase or a percentage increase over a period of time. So say they're in for 55 years. At 10 years, you have a 5% increase in your rent. At 20 years, you have a 5% increase, whatever the number is. Does the original contract have that language?
Okay, we're researching the original contract.
What is the
Oh, the
question
original
again?
lease.
Sorry?
Okay, well, what I'm saying is if you have a long-term lease and say it's 55 years,
Okay.
what I'm saying is that, are there steps? Do we appraise that again within the 55 years, or are there certain area times when we make it? So we step up based on appraisals only. Is that correct?
So
How
typically,
How often do we do those appraisals?
typically, the first appraisal or the rent that is determined on a new lease, we usually get a 25-year term. First
Okay.
10 years, we know the first 25 years, we'll know the known rent. First 10 years, you have a set rent. You step up 11 to 15, you step up 16 to 20, you step up 20 to 21 to 25. And then you have a redetermined rent in year 25, 26 and on. It can go for 15 years or it can go for 10 years. Typically, there's step-ups in that, 5-year step-ups. Okay? So you have
Is that
typically
your-
one.
Is
Go ahead.
that your standard? Every 5 years you do an appraisal? Is that sort of the?
No, no.
No.
The initial one, we'll know up front. The first appraisal, when the rent is established, you'll get the known 25 years rent.
25
And it'll
years.
be up 10 years, 11 to 15, 16 to 20, 21 to 25. You'll know that rent.
Okay, so now I understand how your schedule is. You have a 25-year set rent, then you
Old
go
rent, yes.
10 years and then 10 years. So it's 10 years after 25.
Reopener, yes, correct.
Okay.
10 to 15 years.
Okay, so I don't want to mess up how you're doing your general leases, we don't need to change the whole process if you're satisfied with that process. So that sort of changes my thought process then, because what we're going to do is we're going to do the step up based on the appraisal, and we're charging them a 20% upfront fee.
Correct.
Then I'm fine with that. Let's not mess with the whole thing, because my understanding is when I sign a 10-year lease, in that lease, it has at 3 years, you got a 3% increase.
Right.
At 7 years, you have a 3%. At 10, we renegotiate. That's just my thought process and the way I used to do contracts. You do it differently. I don't want to mess with it. It sounds good. We have a good situation here. I think we ought to just move on with the 20%, do the appraisal, step up for the full year term, and we're done.
Okay. All right. Russell, I see you
Sorry
nodding.
for about the runaround, but I just want to figure out what your process was. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, unless anybody has comments, I'm going to call for the question.
Okay. I don't see anybody raising their hands. So all those in favor of approaching it the way that it's spelled out in the submittal, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Is there anyone that opposes? Okay, seeing none, the motion is carried.
Thank you.
Hey, commissioners.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
And thanks, Paul, too, for joining. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but I think we got there eventually.
Oh, Okada, I did have a question for the department. We had talked in our prior meeting, we had approved the revised revocable permit process. And I was hoping that we would see something. You said you sort of had some that were lined up. Will we see something in April on a proposal?
I'm hoping something in April. I know I've spoken to Jovi and we're trying to see if we can procure. I know she mentioned about procuring a firm to assist us with that. So that's where that's at right now.
I thought we had a property or something that we were looking at that was primed to start the process.
Yeah, we do. We have, I think, several that
Okay.
I think should be primed.
Yeah, so I'd like to, hopefully we could see some of that, shortly, so we could get the program moving and test it, see how it goes.
Okay.
Yeah, Kana, I think he's referring to, there's a Waimanalo pastoral permit that you guys had teed up for the first one. My understanding is right now that person's just been kind of extended until we have the new process in place. Is that right?
Not formally, officially extended.
But they're still there, and
Physically, yeah.
Physically, they're there.
are they paying, or are we getting any income off of that?
Nope.
Not at the
And is that
moment.
because-
Not at the moment.
And is that because we're not charging them, or is that because they just chose not to pay us?
No, it's because we haven't finished the process. Now that the process is, now that the process is known to the staff, the idea of getting someone to assist us in multiple offerings over multiple categories is something that we're shooting for as quickly as possible.
Okay. But in the interim, we don't accept any payment from the person who's on the property.
We haven't,
No, because we don't have a program. We're not authorized to do so.
Yeah, so that's sort of my question. There is an urgency here. I was hoping that we would see something either on that property or any property, just to get the process started, because, you know, we got to
Yes.
work our way through it. But yeah, these kind of things, our beneficiaries get concerned about stuff like this that's sort of hanging out there because we don't have a policy. So we did approve something and we need to move forward as fast as possible. That's my only concern.
Yeah, understood. It's being worked on.
Okay,
We'll
thank
get
you.
it done as soon as we can. Okay?
thank you, commissioners.
Okay, next agenda item, is, you want to come to the table in case there's any questions? It's normally the homestead lease application totals and the delinquency reports. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Juan? Okay,
Commissioner Kalikini has a question.
go ahead, Mike.
Chair, thank you. I actually, I don't have anything specific to the report, but I wanted to just say mahalo nui to Juan and his team and the others that helped sort through that situation in KL with our two lessees, the Freitas and the Perez family. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you, Commissioner. That was definitely a team effort.
Great job.
And it puts to bed a situation that's been around for a while.
Yes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So look, I get more gray hairs because of that one.
Yeah, don't worry, that's only one, get many more to go.
I better hang on then, so I still get here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay,
Great
next
job.
agenda,
Thank you, Juan. Oh, I said thank
next
you.
agenda item is F2. We're gonna bring back. Hold on a second as we bring Kahana and Alan and Julie literally to the table. I see Julie on the screen, so welcome, Julie.
Hey. Hi, Julie.
Aloha again, Commissioners. Kahana, I'll be acting as Land Management Administrator. Item number F2 is for information only. I have Alan Llanos. The information is for the DHHL 2020 Renewable Energy Project Solicitation Status Report. Again, I have Alan Llanos here from LMD Land Agent. Alan?
Thank you, Kahana. Aloha, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, aloha, Commissioners. This is a joint briefing, so Julianne Cachola from our planning office will be joining us. What I'd like to do is to highlight some of the important matters from our solicitation. And, you know, although we had identified at the Commission's August 2020 meeting 10 potential sites for renewable energy projects, due to limitations in our resources and staffing, we prioritize the sites, and we decided on offering only 4 parcels out of the 10 potential sites. So our solicitation, which was issued on August 31st of last year, covered 4 parcels in Nanakuli, on Oahu, Ho'olahua on the island of Molokai, Kauai, and Kalawa on Hawaii Island. Our original application deadline was October 16th, and was extended to December 18th due to some delay in the issuance of HECO's RFP for community solar projects. Now, we received a relatively low number of applications. In table 1, you'll see that we received 8 applications for the 4 parcels at those locations. And out of the 4 parcels offered, we selected finalists for only 3 of them. The only application for Ho'olehua was withdrawn prior to the December 18th submission deadline. And another application for the Kauai site was withdrawn due to non-compliance with the submission requirements. Personally, my thought is the reason for the low number of applications is because of the lack of a final RFP or even draft RFPs by HECO, and that led to uncertainty, which a lot of developers don't want, and so that limited the amount of interest in submitting applications. That's my thought. For the Nanakuli site, our evaluation committee selected the Center for Appropriate and Sustainable Technology, or ICAST. ICAST is new to Hawaii and is a Colorado-based nonprofit corporation. However, it's been active on the mainland, developing solar projects for lower to middle income communities. Nexamp Solar LLC was selected for the Kauai and Kalawa sites. Nexamp, which is based in Boston, Massachusetts, has more than 200 projects, and over half of them are community solar projects. Information on these selected applicants and their proposed projects, information on these selected applicants' proposed projects are tentative pending completion of initial site visits and the beneficiary consultation meetings, which we'll discuss later. They will help refine the proposed projects and provide more realistic numbers, especially as to acreage and sizes of the projects. In another HECO draft RFP issued in early December, the community solar final RFPs were proposed for issuance in early January of this year, but due to numerous issues with the community solar program raised by developers, the PUC issued an order on January 29th that delayed the schedule even further. So our estimate of when the final HECO RFPs will be issued at the earliest would probably be around late May or early June. So we don't have an updated solicitation schedule to share with you, but our plan is to update the schedule once we have a final RFP issued by HECO. I'd like to now ask Julie Cachola to cover the beneficiary consultation plans. And then maybe after she's finished with her portions, we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Alan.
Go ahead, Julie.
Hello, commissioners. Ellen and I work together on renewable energy. I'm from the planning office, and we kind of handle the beneficiary consultation portion of our renewable energy kind of process. So as with all proposals that involve a long-term commitment of trust lands, we consulted with beneficiaries that would be most affected by the renewable energy project for each of the solicited sites. So in October 14th, we held a BC meeting in Nanakuli with Nanakuli lessees and Princess Kahanu lessees. On October 29th, we had the BC meeting for beneficiary consultation meeting for Molokai lessees and applicants. And on December 8th, we held a BC meeting in Kauai with all Kauai lessees. We decided not to hold a BC meeting for Kalawa because in their recent 2020 update of their regional plan for Kealakahe and La'iopua, one of the priority projects, which was identified by the beneficiaries, was a renewable energy initiative at the solicited site. So they were already trying to tell us we want to do some renewable energy development at this site. So for this first beneficiary consultation meeting, what we wanted to do was provide information about the solicitation happening. We wanted to explain why DHHL had selected the site, why we were looking at renewable energy projects at this particular time. And we wanted to explain about the upcoming RFP from HECO. Now, this RFP, unlike other RFPs, specifies a certain type of renewable energy development called community-based renewable energy, or also known as community solar. It's a different concept. So we asked HECO if they would like to send a representative to these meetings to help explain the concept, and they obliged. So we had at least one HECO representative at each of the consultation meetings that had a portion of the meeting where they could explain the CBRE concept, how it works, and potential benefits for the community. We explained at the meeting the complex relationship between the developer, HECO, and DHHL as a landowner, and our separate processes, and where the processes kind of come together. The discussion portion of the meeting focused on discussion on community benefits, and of course we heard their comments and concerns, and we answered questions that they had about the sites or anything else that came up. So now with that done, and with us having selected the developers for the 3 sites, the commission should note that we're getting ready to conduct our next round of beneficiary consultation meetings. Our next round will happen at the end of April, beginning of May, for the 3 sites that are still that we have selected developers for: Nanakuli, Kaihai, and Kalawa. At this meeting, this is an important meeting because we will actually bring the selected developer in, and we will introduce them to the community, and the beneficiaries will get to hear firsthand from the developer their proposal. So the developer presents their project and gets to hear directly from our beneficiaries. Our beneficiaries have the opportunity to ask questions, voice their concerns, talk about community benefits. They could provide additional information about the parcel that they know that maybe might be helpful for the developer. But this is an important meeting because it establishes a good foundation for the future, for a lasting kind of productive relationship. The outcome of the meeting, the beneficiary comments that come out would be then fed into our negotiation process for lease terms. After the second round of beneficiary consultation meetings, we now get to start fulfilling our statutory requirements. So when it comes to renewable energy development, Chapter 171-95.3 says that anytime that an agency or board leases public lands for renewable energy development, there's certain things that have to happen. And so one of the things is we have to conduct 2 public hearings. We have to inform the public on the island where the project is happening about the project. So the purpose of the public hearing is to explain the project and explain to the public that we're getting ready to lease these public lands. After the 2 public hearings, the commission can then render a decision on the right of entry permit for due diligence purposes, which would be converted then to a general lease when all conditions are met. And all conditions actually takes a long time. So meaning the completion of Chapter 343 requirements, environmental assessment, they have to secure the PPA from HECO, right? So these big ticket items have to be satisfied before we're looking at a general lease. The closing note portion of this submittal, it's trying to speak to the difficulty we've had in aligning our processes of consultation with our beneficiaries plus our statutory requirements with the public hearings, and then having to align that with HECO's RFP process. And usually what happens is HECO has the RFP out and we're rushing to kind of meet these deadlines. And this time, we're actually fortunate. The delay in releasing an RFP has given us time to kind of work with our beneficiary communities, to take our time in explaining these things, to introduce now the developer to the community. So it's a different situation. For those of you commissioners that were involved in our pressure cooker previous situation, we have a little bit more time on this one. Yeah, I guess that's all that, that's basically where we are today.
Commissioners, questions for either Julie or Alan?
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah.
And then Dennis.
Yeah, thanks, Alan and Julie. Julie, I have a question for you. You know, for Moloka'i's, the Holiho renewable energy proposal that did not go through, would you know the reason why that one particular applicant decided to pull out from Molokai?
I wouldn't know. I don't know, Alan. This is kind of more your department.
Is it because Maui Electric removed the PPA?
Is that the entity that's comprised of homesteaders and beneficiary organizations? Because I'm not really sure, but my understanding from reading the filings is that there was some objection to HECO's participation, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, clearly
in the community solar project on Molokai, and
I thought you were referring to the specific conditions as why they withdrew. We know that there was an issue because for Molokai, HECO decided that their development arm would be able to submit a proposal for the CBRE project in Molokai. And so the potential developers were upset, saying, hey, there's no competition. If HECO's going to be evaluating proposals and one of them is from HECO, then they'll probably choose HECO's proposal. So they're kind of contesting that decision. But the other issue was there's land next to their next to the existing power plant that HECO's making available for free for any developer, as opposed to like us, we would be charging lease rent. So there was an opportunity for that. And I think for this, the proposal you're talking about, they were looking at integrating agricultural, an agricultural enterprise like under the solar panels, right? And they felt that the parcel that we put out for solicitation was not as conducive for agricultural, activities.
Thank you. I just needed a clarification as to why. So now I'm aware.
That's our best guess, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Okay, thank you, Zach. We'll go to Dennis, Mike, and then Patty.
Yes, for Julie, this is sort of a 180-degree turn for the HECO, because I remember a year and a half ago, we had talked about community solar and they were all against community solar. So, so my question on community solar is, this going to provide obviously solar power to the specific community with a bleed off to the grid? Is that correct?
Yeah, it basically, well, it's all to the grid, right? It's not to independent houses. It just all feeds into the grid. The CBRE proposal is that there's a subscribing organization, and these are members basically that work with the developer, the subscriber organization that gets qualified through whatever kind of membership clauses. In our cases, the all the proposals are addressing low to moderate income group. So they would be having to qualify at that level, and then they can be subscribers. And then once they are subscribers, they submit that list to HECO. HECO handles all the billing. So when they bill for those people, then they would show a credit, or on their bill would appear based on the contributions of the renewable energy project.
So it's based on income qualification.
For these particular projects, they're looking for the low to
So
moderate income.
Not necessarily everyone in the community would qualify.
If you're really rich, you might, you wouldn't qualify.
Really rich, it sort of depends on what the number is.
It's 80% of the HUD median income, right? And the interesting thing about this is that you don't necessarily have to be located right next door, right? It could be an opportunity for us to even give benefits to applicants on the list that happen to live on the island. That's kind of like the opportunity here, that if they live on the island, then they possibly could benefit.
So it's not for a geographical specific location.
It doesn't have to be.
When you talk community, you talk the community that meets that income level anywhere in the island.
Yes.
Okay, that's a big difference from what we were talking about a year ago.
Yeah.
And this does open up a lot of opportunities. It sort of depends on what I guess since it's all going to grid, it's just adding more to their grid, but providing a benefit for those folks that meet that qualification, which puts a sour note in folks here in Anahola that we have KIC, that everything goes to grid and we just pay our normal bill. But we're moving on.
Hey,
so
maybe,
a lot of opportunities for Kuleana land. I've got 2 Kuleana projects going on. And Kuleana being sort of a preference for a lot of folks because it gets me something, unless we do something with the Kuhio issue. So I see a lot of positives to this and a lot, this is like a complete mind blow to me that we have this change from, no, we're not doing that, to all of a sudden, yes, we're doing it. And not only are we not just doing it for the immediate community, we're doing it for the island community that qualifies, which is
and that's great. Exactly right, Commissioner. And I can't believe it's actually HECO. HECO is singing a different tune. They've turned a different, they have a different philosophy now of what they're doing. And it's really interesting, this shift that they're taking.
I would analogize that as they've seen the solar light. Thank you.
They also, Dennis, they also have a new president and CEO that's much more progressive. I think that is why we're seeing this.
That's great. That's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike and then Patty.
Thank you, Chair. So Julie, I wanted to ask you, so you mentioned about the 2 public hearings. That's separate from beneficiary consultation, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, so I think this is a great opportunity for the trust, for the community. And I was wondering, so if we are fortunate enough to move along to a point where there's a power purchase agreement and we are discussing a lease, when would be the most appropriate time to include community benefits discussion?
We are already discussing it. That was part of the first beneficiary consultation meeting when in our discussion with the developers, we make it clear who our beneficiaries are, that it's not just about lease rent, that we're looking for community benefits, right? Okay. And at the next round of consultation meetings scheduled for end of April, early May, that is going to be the issue as well with doing that discussion.
Okay, so you more details as to what exactly.
We want to hear from the beneficiaries. What are they interested otherwise we will get generic things, job opportunities, very kind of a generic benefits. But I think our community can define it more specifically for them. And we've chosen developers that are interested in actually addressing, the needs of our community. I want to make a qualification. So the public hearings, there's 2 public hearings required for each project, right? So if there's 3 sites we're looking at, that's six public hearings that the commissioners will have to sit through, because these are public hearings conducted by the commission.
Ah, okay. And these beneficiary consultation, is this in person, virtual?
We've been doing it, virtually. Yeah, I rather prefer in person, and especially when we inviting them to meet the developer, because then they can actually, see them. Yeah.
And Mike, because there are different, I guess, county mayors' interpretations of the emergency proclamation, the safest thing to do is to continue to have them virtually for now until we're done with this COVID situation.
No, it makes sense. Just wanted to confirm. But yeah, looking forward to it. I from experience, I know this will take some time with the utility, with the developer, with us. So we'll keep our eyes and our ears open and track this. Thank you, guys.
Commissioner, another thing that I wanted to point out is that, this solicitation for community solar projects is really different from the others that we've undertaken, because in this particular case, in addition to, whatever community benefits are being offered by the applicants, they have committed to including our beneficiaries as part of the subscribers. So this is one instance where the beneficiaries will get to, benefit directly from the project by way of reduced electric bills, if HECO and the PUC allow our beneficiaries to be prioritized for subscriptions under the community solar program. So that's the big difference that I see, because in the past, we've heard beneficiaries saying or asking, am I going to get free electricity, or that sort of thing. It's not free electricity, but you'll get a reduced electric bill if you participate in the program.
Yeah, that's very, very positive. Look forward to that. Yeah.
The key that they're looking for is that they want to see that the developer has site control, right? So what we're trying to get through is that ROE kind of conversion to general lease. We want to be able to get that in their hands so we can say they do have site control, and the key is to get them selected and get them with a PPA, power purchase agreement. A lot of times we commit to this process. It's a long and involved process, and at the end they're not selected. So pull hole kind of thing. But so we're trying to select these developers. We think they can compete. There would be good competition and make it through. We think that they will make it through.
Also, regarding selection, our evaluation committee noted that these applicants were proposing lower to middle income projects. And because of that, by proposing these LMI projects, they basically get additional points by HECO during the evaluation process. So, that makes these applicants more eligible, I guess, for selection. It increases their chance of being selected. And that's the main thing that we want to do, is select well-qualified and experienced developers so that their chance of success at being on the short list as well as for final award will be better.
Okay, thank you, Alan. We have Mike. Mike is done. Patty, and then Dennis.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. So, first of all, it's like, in 2018, when the community, Julie, when we did the regional plan revision, were there any discussion on this community solar recommendation? Because I don't remember discussing any of that. We participated for over a year in
Yeah.
the regional plan. So
Yeah,
was
this is a major issue. Thank you. Thank you for raising it. It was a major issue in the Nanakuli beneficiary consultation meeting that, they felt that they had just gone through a regional planning process and attended these meetings, but none of the meetings had raised the potential of a community solar project in this area. And it wasn't proposed at that time. It wasn't an issue. It wasn't even a possibility, so it wasn't in our frame of reference at that time, and this
and
opportunity came up.
I guess I have to bring this up because I know there's a lot of opposition in Nanakuli, especially the site that you folks chose. I mean, Nanakuli Ranch, 80 to 89 acres of the entrance of our Ahupuaha, that ranch area. I don't think there were any discussion, and I think during the beneficiary consultation, it really shocked the community that were participating on that consultation, not having enough knowledge. And, for years, the community has built up a strong relationship with HICO. I mean, they provide community benefit packages. They provide the HEI grants to our community nonprofits. So I know currently, even now, there's strong discussion to HICO of opposition of this. And I spoke to some of the HICO representatives too, and they wanted to hear about the community, because the least thing that they want to do is put up RFP into the area and not have good relationship with the community. I mean, we have had years of Kahe Point in our community area, and the relationship is really important that they build. It was something that they built for years. But so when we go back to, I was looking at ICAS, and they're from Colorado. And so it says the primary purpose of this solar farm is to bring benefits of solar power, including a reduction in utility bills to members of the community, if they choose to participate. What does that mean? If they choose to participate, then they will get a reduction of
So, so it's really interesting. This company is taking a different approach. For one thing, they're actually consulting on HICO on CBRE. That's how much they know about this, and they're a social enterprise organization. So they're focused on how the community can benefit economically from a particular project. So HICO's idea of this is that everybody got to sign up with the subscriber organization. So one by one, everybody signs up. That's a lot of transactions, right? There's a list that's developed. ICAS is saying, you know what? Why don't we just say everybody's in one time? If you don't want to be in, you can opt out. That way it's one transaction. Everybody's in, right? And so everybody benefits from a reduced solar bill, electric bill. So, they're kind of really changing the whole paradigm, even when it comes to the action of subscribing. They're saying, hey, let's look at it differently. And so for the site, should I show the commission my screen on what the site looks like, where the site is, Patty? Would that help?
Yeah, please. I want to, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair, if that's possible.
Oh, I can't. I'm sorry, it's disabled function.
Can we make it available to us?
Anyway,
but
so let's get back to the April beneficiary consultation, April and May. And that's a very important consultation. You just said it two times, how very important it is. And I think it is because we get to talk to the developer, and then I don't know if Hawaiian Electric are going to be there also. Are they also going to be in this? No?
We asked them, but yeah, they said because we actually have selected a developer, they can't be a part of it. So,
so I guess my other out of the box question is, What, can we have a beneficiary consultation at the ranch with social distance and have the developer come there? It's big
I,
enough, and so if the community would set up the chairs and microphones and everything like that, would it be possible that they host their beneficiary, their consultation at the ranch grounds?
I mean, they certainly can do that. I don't know if that would be like the department's consultation as well. I mean, you can host any kind of meeting with the developer on your own, you know. We can talk about that.
Yeah, Julie, I would not commit to that right now without
Yeah,
some consultation with the Department of Health.
yeah. Oh,
Okay, so can you consultate that? Neighborhood boards has opened up, everybody's wearing masks. We meet regularly every month in person with social distance. And so with the tiers opening up, I'm requesting to see if the Nanakuli Ranch, and we will prepare everything with PPE requirements and social distance and chairs and microphones to have a beneficiary consultation at the ranch and host it there. So can somebody follow up and get back to us?
sure.
Yes, we have time before the next
Okay.
beneficiary consultation needs to be scheduled. So yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, and the last one is Julie. During the consultation of Nanakuli Proposal Ranch, what was the main opposition of during that consultation from the beneficiaries?
I think,
Just a highlight.
yeah, what you said, the regional plan issue, they felt that it was coming, this project was coming out of the blue, and the fact that they had sat through these regional plan meetings and it wasn't brought up, that was definitely an issue. There was an issue of benefits, and you know, with the Nanakuli village coming up, they felt that there have been use of Hawaiian homelands and that they have not directly benefited from, and you know, general lease lands that they did not benefit from. So they were asking more for a direct benefit from this project to make sure that that doesn't happen again. There was issues about, you know, the location. A lot of that parcel is steep land. It's you know, flood areas, and the fact that it's close to their homes, you know, close to their community.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Thank you, Patty. Next is Dennis and then Mike.
Yes, Julie, so just to clarify, the community solar, that benefit is for beneficiaries as well as the public?
You know, it's for subscribers, and however the developer is going to do.
Public can subscribe, not just beneficiaries.
Yeah, you know, because this is our developer, we're trying to, right, we would have them do beneficiaries. But if HECO has another project, you know, it's basically anybody can subscribe. The idea is people that live in condominiums or high-rise buildings, right? Say they wanted to participate in renewable energy development, but they don't have a roof, right? This is their opportunity. They can buy in, they can subscribe, and they can benefit, right, from that, from a solar project that is elsewhere, but because they don't have a roof. That's actually the target for this type of development.
Okay, I'm just trying to clarify the benefit. So the added benefit of the department would be the general lease of the land, correct? So that we'd have the department would have the general lease of the land, which is income generation.
Yes.
And provide a benefit to people that are subscribers, which could be our beneficiaries, which is another benefit to the beneficiaries. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And Dennis, it could actually even include the beneficiary class that's on the wait list. So that's something that we're also looking at, right? Not just lessees, but folks that are on the wait list.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dennis, thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. So just a couple comments. The first one is that, you know, this is a fantastic opportunity for us. The state, of course, you know, that we have mandates to become 100% renewable by 2045. You know, and for us to have the opportunity to have a development on our lands is a great opportunity. And again, I think it goes back to the community benefits, like what Alan mentioned. I mean, if he can negotiate free electricity, we probably have widespread support. However, that'd be a tough one, but favorable rates for all, that's something worth considering, I think, that people will consider. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Anyone else?
Yeah, Chair.
Go ahead, Zach.
I do have a question, Alan or Joanne. The thing is, if a subscriber is awarded, and what kind of, just out of the I don't know how much it will be. What kind of profit will this particular subscriber make, and what kind of revenues the department would gain?
Alan?
I'll try and answer that. I think with regard to profit, it would be premature to make a determination. And if anything, it'd probably be confidential, but it really boils down to how big the project will be and the acreage needed because of all of these applicants that we've selected haven't had any opportunity to go and look at the land yet. They've just done, site studies from Google or aerial maps and that sort of thing, and maybe views from the highway, but not actually walk the land to with their consultants to make a determination on the size of the project, which would affect the revenue, etc. But they have provided us with their proposed revenues, which would be considered minimums at this point. But we're not able to share that with the public yet.
And it all depends on the PPA, the negotiations with HICO.
Yes. There would be another opportunity right before the general lease is issued, and when the commission approves the issuance of a general lease after all the conditions have been met to further refine the community benefits and the lease rents.
Yeah,
because circumstances at that point in time, which might be like about 2 years from now, might change.
Thank you for that answer. I just wanted to, have some idea as to the projections of what kind of revenues, not only the subscriber, but also the department would receive, because to me that's, benefits, as far as because it's technically go right back to the beneficiaries. That's the main thing for this subscribers coming in to do business on Hawaiian homelands. It's because for me it's important to know what kind of revenues we're bringing in.
You would know that when we get into executive session, we can cover that kind of information.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Zach. Any other commissioners? Questions for Ellen, Julie? This is for information only. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, just one question. I noticed here that there's no application for a holy hua. What happens with that?
So there was an applicant, but because he could reported that their development arm would be eligible to kind of put in a bid for the Molokai site, they're kind of feeling that there was rigged. Basically, it was unfair kind of competition. So a lot of them are contesting that. But the other thing is that, HECO had offered land adjacent to their existing power plant for free, to a developer. So, they're kind of looking at the possibility of going there instead of having to pay us, lease rent. And the final thing is that the proposal that would have come in was looking at a link with solar and ag, right? So they wanted to do ag in conjunction with solar, but the land, that's parcel that we had selected was not really that conducive to agriculture. So there, it's more marginal land. So they we, for those reasons, we didn't have a proposal for Molokai.
But that doesn't mean that there would be a proposal outside. I'm just talking about, will there still be some type of proposal outside of what we're proposing ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, yes, HECO has an RFP for a Molokai project, yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, when it comes out,
Yeah.
when it actually comes out, yeah.
Different table. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Julie. All right, I don't see any more hands up, so I want to thank Julie, Alan,
Mahalo.
and Hannah.
Thank
And then
Thank you.
that takes us to the end of the public agenda. So if we can take a 10-minute break, and then come back and ask to go into executive session. Okay, recess.
Commissioners, I emailed and I uploaded to a Dropbox executive session items for Takub and Kuhio Awards. It went out at 9:45 after we started today.
I got it. Thank you.
Okay. And I'll ask the commission for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to section 92-5 subsection A4 HRS to consult with its attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the commission's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities on these matters. May I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Dennis,
Second.
Zachary. Okay. All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, the motion is carried. We are now We're now back in regular session and there's no further business. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? See none. The motion to adjourn is passed.